G'day everybody, Patrick here, and welcome to the third episode of this Serverless Framework tutorial. Today we are going to be talking about plugins for the Serverless Framework and going to be demonstrating a few of them, especially the offline plugin, which I use all of the time, and the .env plugin for loading environment variables. So to start with, let's have a look at the plugins homepage. So if we go to here, serverless.com/plugins, you can see a list of all of these plugins, at least the popular ones. And there's quite a lot that you can use. So this is one of the advantages of using Serverless Framework versus something like deploying your own Lambda functions. You can reuse a lot of the functionality that is commonly required that other people have encapsulated into a plugin for Serverless Framework. And also compared to something like AWS SAM, Serverless Framework is very well supported because it is cross-cloud and supports all of these different cloud providers. You get a bigger community of people coming together to work on these extensions to the service. So these are all just NPM packages. You can view them on GitHub as well, and you can even contribute to them as they're all open source. So if you look at some of these plugins, we've got offline, which is really great. It allows you to run your serverless environment offline without having to deploy it. Webpack is also good for larger projects, so you can do things like Babel transformations, and you can also do code splitting and so on. There's plenty of others as well. To be honest, I've probably only used 5 or 6 of these, but there's plenty out there. So TypeScript is another good one I've used. So if you're familiar with TypeScript, you probably want to use it everywhere instead of JavaScript, and Lambda doesn't natively support TypeScript. So you can either compile your TypeScript down into JavaScript on your own or using some kind of toolchain in NPM, or you can use the TypeScript plugin, which makes it easy for you. And then .env is another one we're going to be looking at today for loading variables from .env into serverless. That's a good overview, I think. There's plenty of others. There's offline SNS, offline DynamoDB, and other things like that, which are really interesting. So have a look at all of this on your own, and you'll see there's a lot you can do with this. So let's start by doing offline. So the installation process for one of these plugins is pretty simple. We're just going to go yarn add serverless offline for the first one, and then we need to add it in our serverless.yaml. And then we do this just under provider. We go plugins, and it's an array, so we go serverless offline. And once this is ready, we can start, and we're going to run the command serverless offline, or SLS offline. Okay, so SLS offline is going to launch an API pretty much like how you would expect it to work with Express, for example, on Node.js. And you'll notice a lot of similarities between Node and the serverless framework. So for some reason, this is already in use. I just had to clear the screen before because the port was already in use. So I had to go shut down something else. So here we are, and it's going to give us this localhost 3000 endpoint, which we can open in our browser. On its own, because this is not a root we've declared, we need to go /dev/hello, and we get hello world. Excellent. So now what we can do, we can open a new tab in the terminal, and we can actually make a curl request to the same thing, except this time it's going to be localhost 3000/dev/hello, and we get hello world. So we have an offline API running serverless. Well, it's not serverless in this case because our laptop is a server, but it's the principles of serverless here. And what we're going to do is we're going to start looking at how we can customize this. So first things first, so we're going to look at another plugin. So we're going to add serverless-dotenv-plugin, I believe is the name for this one. So we need to go yarn add serverless-dotenv-plugin. And this is going to allow us to create a .env file and declare some variables. So for example, if we want to go some secret key is equal to super secret value, right? And then we can go in here without having to require anything from Node. The Serverless Framework just handles this for us. We can go, let's say, console log process.env some secret key, this value that we wanted to log. And I'm just going to put the tag on this. So now we can go back here and restart serverless offline. Something to note about this as well is that serverless offline should is the key word here. I've had people who it doesn't work for, and some issues around that. But it should automatically update if you change the code of a function. If you change serverless.yaml, you're going to need to relaunch those. So we have changed it in this case because we added the .env plugin. So now if we go curl, we get hello world, and if you look at the logs, so notice that this was not logged on this side, we just got the output, the log, think of this like the client, and then here's the server, and we got our super secret value from the environment variables. So that's really helpful. You can put things like, database keys and so on in there, and you can have different environments for different stages if you want. So what we're going to look at now is different things we can do. So this is very basic. We just got our event context and so on. We haven't even used the event. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go exports dot query handler is equal to, and we're going to ask people for their favorite colors. So basically copying this, except it's called query handler. So what we're going to do is we're going to say const query string parameters is equal to event, and then from the query string parameters we want color. We'll also say name. So we're going to get the name and the color from the query string parameters, and we'll deal with some bug fixes in a second. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say const return string, and we're going to use string interpolation here. So we go hello name, your favorite color. Notice the British spelling here, very important, otherwise it won't work. Is color. So we go return, and we go status code 200 again, just keep it simple, and body is going to be return string. So the body we return actually has to be a string, so we can't return an object. It's just the way that the API gateway works. So if we try to return an object, we're actually going to get an error. Let's demonstrate that. So we're going to say key value like this, and I'll just comment that bit out. So if we test this, and I haven't updated the serverless.yaml, so this should work as is. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I do need to refresh it this time. Like I said, it can be temperamental. I'm sure that out there's some documentation illustrating exactly when it does and when it doesn't update automatically. You can use something like NodeMon if you really want to make sure that it would update, but it does take a few seconds every time you launch it, and more so if you have a lot of code. So we go curl, and I know what the problem is actually, is we haven't actually invoked the right function. So you can see here in hello.js, we had exports.handler, and then we had exports.queryhandler. So if you go to serverless.yaml, we've got two functions, main, and we're going to create a new function. We're just going to copy paste this. It's going to be pretty much the same. I'm just going to go /name, /name, and then this will be hello.queryhandler. And we got to call this something else, we'll call it name. What this is now is when we go, okay, we have updated the YAML file this time, so we do need to restart. And so we're going to go curl, instead of going /hello, we're going to go /name, and we're going to go name equals Patrick, and color equals, I don't know, what is my favorite color? Let's say red. So we haven't got a response. What's gone wrong? Values not defined. Okay. So I like to leave these problems in here so you guys, this should be a string. So you guys can see that, like I like to think that I know my stuff, but I do make mistakes fairly often, and often going through that debugging process, especially if it's a quick one that's not going to take several hours, can be helpful to see. So we go here, and so this is the error that I was expecting that we get. It says, according to the API gateway specs, the body content must be stringified. So we could json.stringify this body, and it should work. So let's try again without relaunching, and it worked. Awesome. So you can do that, and that's what you often do if you want to return a JSON body. But we're just going to return this string, and you get this, hello Patrick, your favorite color is red. Perfect. Let's try another value. Hello Sam, and your color is blue. Hello Sam, your favorite color is blue. Perfect. So nice and simple example, but let's try and break it. What happens if we don't pass in a name? No response. And you can see we actually had an error here, cannot structure property name of query string parameters. So what's happened here is that the query string parameters were null because we didn't pass in any parameters. So we need to add a check, and we're going to say if the query string parameters is falsy, so if not query string parameters, basically if it's null, this is going to result to false. If it's undefined, if it's false, 0, whatever. And we also want to check that query string parameters.name and also query string parameters.color. We want to make sure that these are all truthy values. So then if this is not the case, we're going to do an early return, status code 400, and body is just going to be, please provide a name and color. So this is if either of these are not present. So if we go here, we get please provide a name and color, and we go name equals Patrick, we don't provide a color, it's going to say the same thing. And if we say color equals blue without that, please provide a name and color. Okay, so we basically made the first basic API. It's not connecting to any external services, but it's doing a little bit of computation here, you know? It's doing a string interpolation and so on. You could do something where it like adds up numbers or really anything that is like a computational process, and it would work, and you could deploy this and don't need to worry about the servers. Pretty cool. The next thing we want to look at though is path parameters. So query string parameters, pretty easy to understand what's going on there. We're just passing in a question mark and this. So normally you don't have these backslashes in a URL. Curl's just putting them in because we're in a terminal. So if we do this and we get rid of the backslashes, it'll still work like this. And we're going to pass in a name equals Janice. So we go, hello Janice, your favorite color is blue. Back to here though, we're going to experiment with a different thing, which is where we have path parameters. And so the way that we do path parameters, now let's go path test. We go path test.handler. Just to show we can do multiple different files here. Events, HTTP, and for fun, let's make it a put request. So put, post, get, delete, they're all fair play here. And path is going to be slash path test. Okay, cool. So now I'm just going to copy this file and we'll call it path test, capital T is important. And we're just using the main handler from this. And so what we're going to do, instead of logging all of this, we're going to go const path parameters is equal to event. We're going to say food, this person's favorite food, and we're going to go const food is equal to path parameters. So then we're going to say const return string. We could do it in here with the string interpolation, but I'd like to keep it a bit clean and separate. So we go const return string is equal to looks like your favorite, again with the U, food is, and we go food. So return string like that, and this should be fine, except we haven't actually declared how this path parameter is going to work, right? So what we want it to look like is we want to go slash path test slash, and then they pass in a parameter. Out of habit, often I put a $sign before the curly braces because that's how you do string interpolation in JavaScript, like here. But you actually can't have a $sign or it'll break. And we're going to say slash food like that. And then we need to actually say request parameters path, and then just all the things we want. So food is the one, and we're just going to say true. So that should be all right. Let's double check. Yeah, can't see any obvious problems, but you know, for all we know, we might have an issue. So let's go serverless-offline and curl, and this time we're going to curl path test, and we're going to pass in, so it's not a query string parameter, it's a path parameter this time. And my favorite food is apple. Okay, cool. There you go. Not found. Okay, so I've had this one before. Yes, and now we have the problem of, guess what? We made this a put request, and that means that curl's not going to by default make a put request. It'll by default make a get request. That's pretty easy though. We can fix that by going -X to change the method and put. And there we go. It worked. Okay, so then we can try different things. Favorite food is pie. Very creative today, I know. There you go. So not too bad. The next thing that we want to do is experiment with multi-value string parameters. So we're going to create a new one. It's going to be the friends path, and the handler, it's going to be friends.handler. Events is going to be HTTP events, just to keep it simple. Method is going to be just a get request. Realistically, this one shouldn't be a put request, thinking about how REST APIs should work. We just did it as a demonstration. A get request for getting data, a post request to push data to the server, a put request when you're doing something that can either be an update or a creation. So for example, Amazon S3 for file storage has an API where you can get requests to get objects, and you can do a put request to put objects, and there's no post request. So generally that's what a put request would be for, but the most common ones would be get and post. And the other thing as well is get requests, you wouldn't have a body. You normally make a post request so you can pass in a body that contains like a big JSON object or whatever you want. So this is going to be a get request, and we're going to go path is going to be /friends, request. Oh, we don't need to do any path parameters on this one. So we're just going to use the query string parameters. We're going to do multiple friends though. So we're going to go, I don't know, imagine having multiple friends. So friends.js, and we're going to go exports.handler. Yep, all good. Instead of path parameters, it's going to be multi-value query string parameters. So that's a mouthful. And we want to check that that's actually defined. So I think it's going to be defined if we actually have query string parameters being passed in. So let's log this and also the query string parameters and just experiment with how it goes. So we go console log multi-value and also just query string parameters. And let's not worry about this or this. And we're just going to return nothing for the moment, just to log this to see how it goes. So serverless offline, and we'll make a curl request to /friends. And what's wrong? Oh, we don't need path test, we need this. Okay, and it should log now, okay, null and null. That's because we haven't passed any parameters in. So if we go say now name of our friend is Jed, then you're gonna get here. So the normal query string parameters are gonna have an object, and the multi-value string parameters is gonna be an array. So if we say friends are Jed, and another one, we say and name equals Will. So then you're going to get here 2 names. What actually happens is the multi-value string parameters keeps the array, whereas this one's going to get overwritten. So this isn't so reliable if you have multiple values for a particular string parameter. That's why we'd use this. The important thing to note though is it's going to be defined even if there is one thing. So you don't actually have to have multiple, but the idea is it's usable if there is multiple. So we're going to say if not multi-value query string parameters and multi-value query string parameters dot name. Note the bracket placement here, so we've got a not and then the ands on the inside. Due to De Morgan's laws, you could write this as this if you wanted. It would do the same thing, but I think it's cleaner with the single not and an and in the middle and the brackets. Up to you. So then if this fails, we're going to return a status code, keep it simple again, 400, and the body that we return is going to be, please have at least one friend. So then we're going to go, that's a tough ask. What's wrong? So then we go const return string is equal to your friends are. So we're going to go const friend names is equal to multi-value query string parameters dot name dot join with a comma. So we're going to take all of the names of the friends. So remember, this is an array like this, and we're just going to join them in order with a comma. So you're not going to have any fancy ands at the end or whatever, but it doesn't matter. Your friends are this. Okay, cool. And then we're going to go return the return string in the body. All right. So now we go here. We do need to restart. Where's my query string parameters at? Oh, and then we can't log this because we don't know what the query string parameters are. So it should be all good. There you go, your friends are Jed, Will, and we pass in someone else, and name is Stewie. Cool, so this is a basic overview of how you would handle the different things in the event and then how you can return different bodies. One last thing, I know this video is getting a bit long, but I do want to try a post request with a body in it because it's a little bit different. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new one. What are we going to go post? Let's just make it like a literal post. Imagine we're making a Facebook style like social network, and we're going to go and say like article. We're going to post an article, and we're going to go article.handler, and we go events is going to be http method post path to be /article. So we make a post request to this endpoint /article. So let's go article.js, exports.handle, start from fresh, and do this. So the way we're going to handle a body in this is we're going to go const body is equal to json.parse event.body. Problem with this though is that this body may be null, and then that means that the parse is going to fail. So we can go try this and catch. If it doesn't work, we're going to go return status code, say 400 again, and body is just please pass in an event body, something along those lines. You can make this cleaner definitely by like making a method to return and things like that, but we'll keep it simple for the moment. So we've got a bit of a problem now though. We're going to need to go let body, and then we go we could even put the whole thing in a try. I don't really like this. I like to do early exits, but it would also mean for sure that You know what? No, let's go let body, and then we're going to overwrite body, and then we can reference body down here. And we know that if body didn't get defined properly, we're going to return early. If you didn't get what I just said, don't worry too much about it. We've got body is defined now. So this is going to be an object with whatever the person passes into the body. And we're going to do the same thing. So if not body, or realistically, this should be defined because we managed to JSON pass it. We go if not body and body dot, let's say title and body dot content. So we're going to pass in a title and a content. Then we go return status code 400, and the body is going to be please provide a title and content. Cool. And so now we're down to here where this is a state where the user's actually made a valid request. And so then what we're going to do is we're just going to simulate saving this to a database, for example. And so we're just going to console log saved article. Hang on, put this as a template string with text. I'm going to pass in the text. Hang on, title, and content is going to be body.content. Awesome. So then we can just return, and we can actually, in this case, we can use a 201 created response. So we go status code 201 and body is created successfully or something like that. So then we're going to we've already created the endpoint for this one. So let's restart the offline service, and we're going to make a curl request. Now we need to say -x post, and then we say data is going to be, you need to be very particular about this. So I do single quotes here, and then we curly braces, and then we're going to put title is hello world, and the content is going to be once upon a time. And so now we need to change this as well. So we go /article, and we don't need to put any query string parameters. Created successfully, awesome. And then we look on here and it's going to tell us saved article with title, hello world, and content once upon a time. And so normally you would make a database request or whatever you like. And we're going to talk about connecting to a DynamoDB database as a key value store pretty soon. So stay tuned for that. Okay, that's everything I wanted to talk about here with these ones. I know this has been a long video, but hopefully that gives you a really thorough overview of all the different things you can do with passing data to and from a serverless application running on Serverless Framework. So if you like this video, please give it a like. It really helps me out. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. And other than that, have a great day, guys, and catch you guys in the next video.